Derek Moneyberg upset a lot of people within the MMA community with this post on Instagram, so let's do a little deep dive today. He is the world's best wealth coach, and a former dating coach who looks totally trustworthy. He spends time with the biggest names in MMA, to build trust so he can sell you his Donald Duck investing course, and be the guy who can afford to be a 5-star platinum user on Seeking arrangement. He claims to have earned his black belt in 3.5 years in BJJ. With him in this post are all well-respected former fighters. Certainly those guys didn't get paid well to hand out a black belt, right?
So, like, in general, start to finish, how long does it take to get one?
You could, if you dedicate yourself every day, train really hard, you could really get it in 4 to 5 years. Be difficult, but you could.
What he didn't mention, but probably implied, is that you also need to be competing publicly in order for the belt to be validated. Moneyberg has never competed. He's only rolled in his house gym, so there's no way of proving his legitimacy. It's well known that Penn got his black belt in 3.5 years, so we know it's at least possible. His wiki lists his accomplishments. The key points are that he was the first non-Brazilian to win in the black belt division of the World Jiu-Jitsu Championship, and he had other notable finishes. Meaning, he was competing and had public records of his ability, verifying his black belt status. No one even questioned it. Moneyberg, with his corny branding on his t-shirts paying MMA fighters to promote his investing training, has zero competition activity. He lived in the gym. I don't mean he spent a lot of time in the gym. I mean he slept on a pallet in the back room of the gym. He got up, trained until lunch, ate lunch, trained until dinner, ate dinner, trained until he went to sleep. He probably put in more hours on the mat in his first 6 months of training than I have put in over the last 8 years. One is nicknamed the Prodigy, while the other looks like a movie villain. And as you should know by now, an internet marketer with graphics like this and a course called the 10 Commandments of Wealth should not be trusted.
You know, I don't skip workouts. I never skipped MMA training once. I rarely skip a weightlifting workout. Never skipped MMA training. Doing 200 days a year. I was doing more than 200 days a year MMA training.
Moneyberg is definitely a very dedicated guy. I don't doubt that he's put in the work to earn some belts. He's able to afford the best coaching staff ever assembled, so I can imagine he'll earn belts faster than your average hobbyist. But this is also a guy who lies about everything. I've caught him lying multiple times while under oath.
But at the end of the day, like, you could be a shitty black belt. You know what I mean? A black belt doesn't prevent or mean anything at the end of the day. You're only as good as how you could train and perform.
I think many people are annoyed at this situation because the black belt loses its appeal if people are receiving them without earning them, and because he has zero sparring footage or hasn't competed in any way.
Is there any corrupt people who just like
sell it for whatever, you know, like give me enough money.
Is there some sort of like certification process whereby it's like you cross-reference if it's a legit black belt or
not really.
I think the reason why people always mention the coach handing out the belts is to establish legitimacy. I think MMA fans know that this is just a bunch of ex-pro fighters who wanted to earn a little extra money. Sean Strickland's comment is the best. LMAO, at least everyone in this pit got paid extremely well. OnlyFans girls know it best. You find a whale who's a bit of a loser and willing to pay you to do some questionable things, you go along with it, and voila, you have a Ferrari in your driveway. Chael Sonnen has some funny stories on his YouTube channel about calling himself a black belt in the early days of MMA, but realizing he wasn't close when he got destroyed in a tournament by purple belts. This could all get settled or verified if Derek joins a competition and proves himself against other black belts. Of course, he won't do it though. This account, Jiu-Jitsu Giant, made a post a few days later about how Moneyberg getting his black belt doesn't affect your life in any way, and then claims to be training with him soon. But this comment highlights why it matters. It dilutes the sport and shows it's pay to play. I'm curious if you'll be honest how much he is paying you to train with you and if there is a financial motivation to post this. Barriers to entry are only good if they're equally validated and applied across the board. The branding of graduating from a select law, medical, or business school is super desirable because only a select few people graduated and earned their degrees. If people across the country could just pay for that degree and attend the same networking events, then everyone's degree is worth less. Images like this also devalue a super prestigious brand like Rolls-Royce. I have to show you a couple of funny comments from the original black belt post. BJJ Premium Plus. Derek is the whale of a client you look for when you start coaching, so I can't hate on the coaches too much. Their mortgages are definitely getting paid. This is exactly why BJJ is in the strip mall karate stage. At Derek Moneyberg, congratulations on your monumental promotion. Would you consider sharing videos of your rolling sessions with these legends? I tried looking on your page but didn't see anything. Derek responded, I just DM'd you. At Derek Moneyberg, thanks for your offer on teaching me how to invest, but nothing on rolling. That was my absolute favorite comment. Derek has autoresponders for his messaging, so that poor guy probably went down a sales funnel into signing up for his investing courses. You always need to protect yourself online, whether it's from bad sales funnels or from people stealing your data. You've probably never heard of Spokio, Truthfinder, or been verified, but they've definitely heard of you. These are data brokers. Their entire business model is collecting your personal info and selling it to anyone willing to pay. Take a look at how much information they have on you. Do you remember consenting for these data brokers to sell your private information? You probably didn't. The data brokers make no attempt to stop scammers, spammers, or stalkers from buying it. The reason is because they're making billions of dollars a year off of it and there's no governmental agency stopping them. That's why I started using Aura, who's sponsoring this video. Aura finds the data brokers exposing your info and automatically sends opt-out requests to get it taken down. Aura handles it all for you. Aura also monitors the dark web, alerts you if someone's trying to get your info for credit fraud, and comes with a VPN and password manager. And if something does happen, you're covered with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance and 24/7 US-based fraud support to help you fix it fast. You can try Aura free for 14 days at aura.com/Spencer. That's more than enough time to start getting your information removed from these sketchy sites. Start today, aura.com/Spencer. The BJJ subreddit posted his response where he claims he'll stop funding any BJJ people after this, which is hilarious because his entire marketing strategy is paying fighters to come on his podcast and look like he's friends with them. He then essentially spends 10,000 words telling you this didn't bother him at all, and it's clear why everyone in BJJ is a broke loser because they can't possibly reconcile the idea that a slightly overweight guy who moves like a turtle, who has no competition or training footage, magically got their black belt in the same record time as one of the most respected guys in BJJ history. And of course, they're haters for disliking that Moneyberg bought a black belt, devaluing all of their black belts, a belt that many of them have spent a decade pursuing legitimately. He claims to have started training in November 2021. Since around that time, I've been able to learn a lot about this clown from all the non-public information I've had access to. Moneyberg, whose real name is Dale Bushkovsky, sued me in June 2021 for 4 separate claims: defamation, business disparagement, unfair competition under the Lanham Act, and emotional distress. He legit said in the complaint that my videos caused him to overeat. I can assure you that he had those man boobs long before my videos on him. The original videos that led to this lawsuit were filmed in December 2020 and were of me interviewing someone who had firsthand experience with Derek Moneyberg. I literally said nothing in the video other than ask questions. In these last 4 years, I've learned more about this wealthy ogre than I care to admit. But that means I get to share it with you so you can enjoy laughing at how much of a loser Moneyberg is. To start, let's look at his Instagram. The likes on his posts all vary between 40,000 and 43,000 because he has a software that auto-likes his posts. The 4.1 million followers he has are not real. Everything he has is paid for, which is why this black belt situation isn't surprising to anyone who knows anything about him. We'll start here at 7212 Longboat Drive in Johnston, Iowa. There was a court case in 2012 filed by the United States government against 7212 Longboat Drive. It was a civil forfeiture case, drug-related seizure of property. One of the movants was Dale Buchkovsky. Dale's mother Terry and grandmother Betty Mariani were also included. To be very clear, since I've been in litigation with him, he's never been indicted, charged, or convicted of any crime related to this property.
I'm a high school dropout. I grew up with, my father wasn't there. My father was in prison for a lot of my childhood for drug trafficking.
In my attorney's deposition of Dale, did you have a relative who went to jail for cocaine manufacturing and delivery? Answer: my father did. The next statement from Dale in his deposition is him describing what was found in this 7212 Longboat Drive property. Drug paraphernalia, mail addressed to Dale Buchkovsky at a Peru, Illinois address, documents including tax returns in the name of Dale Buchkovsky, and credit cards in the name of Richard Miller LLC and Dale Buchkovsky. If someone's mail, credit cards, and tax return documents were in a house, wouldn't you assume they lived there, or at the very least regularly visited and participated in whatever was going on there? A money counter and money bands used to wrap cash were also found, as well as 2 handguns in a safe. Original packaging for a wet dry vacuum and a drill were found, and the vacuum and the drill were found during the search of 7323 Longboat Drive. Also found was real estate contracts and documents for property belonging to Alex Slinwinski LLC, of which Timothy Lantz was the registered agent and only member. So who owns 7323 Longboat Drive? Answer: I don't know. It seems that that's Lantz property, that either he owns or controls that in some way. This alleges in paragraph 15 that Lantz and you knew each other for a number of years. Is that true or false? Answer: Lantz was a college roommate. He lived in a room in a home that I lived in for a period of time during our college years. Are you aware that mail addressed to you was found at 7323 Longboat Drive in the trash? Answer: I see that comment made in the paperwork here. 7323 Longboat Drive was walking distance to the 7212 property as part of the civil forfeiture case involving Dale, and it has its own history. Authorities want to seize Johnston house involved in massive pot raid. 3 properties being sold on contract to a Johnston man charged with growing more than 500 pot plants in his basement could be be seized by federal authorities. Court papers filed asked a federal judge to order the forfeiture of the house at 7331 Longboat Drive in Johnston, as well as 2 vacant lots a block away from the house. Federal prosecutors said last week that they intend to use similar procedures to seize the house at 7323 Longboat Drive, where Timothy Lantz, 34 years old, was arrested amid hundreds of marijuana plants. So this single small street had multiple properties seized for being involved with illegal drug growing. Right down the street is Dale's former roommate. They're on the outskirts of Des Moines, Iowa, but Dale claims they hadn't spoken since around college. Even the cop Jun-Ho in Squid Game Season 3 could have connected these dots. I've made 5 separate videos on this wealth coach that have collectively hit 1.3 million views, which has allowed for some people to contact me as awesome sources. Would you really be surprised to find out that this former dating coach pays significant money to the girls he connects with on seeking arrangement? Also, another guy called me and told me about his experience being Dale's former business partner around that time of the properties being seized. They had fun trips to California to buy a certain kind of product where they would very carefully bring it back to the Midwest and distribute this product on the streets. This business required protection, of course, so multiple guns at all times. It was a business where you had phones that you only wanted one person to know the number of, and the line to not be connected to you at all. This business didn't have a store, so they implemented work from home a little before when it was popular, and while at home, they needed to cover up their windows and be very careful to ensure privacy in case anyone wanted to investigate what they were up to. By the end of the call with this source, I was at a total loss as to what business this actually was. Maybe they were just selling bananas. Because he might have been having a hard time dealing with the asset forfeiture case, he stopped his banana selling business. He became a dating coach for RSD. Real Social Dynamics, the largest dating company for men on social media, had a mystery man behind the scenes. His name was RSD Derek, who mostly stayed anonymous. He taught boot camps where multiple people would pay him around $2,000 to go out to the nightclub where the students hoped to learn how to pick up women from his teachings. So Derek eventually using seeking arrangement to find companionship is hilarious to me. Believe it or not, he actually found a real woman who had a kid with him many years ago. In May 2024, Peru man racks up charges during domestic disturbance. 24-year-old Dylan Bushkovsky was jailed Monday night in Ottawa. He was arrested and charged with unlawful restraint, aggravated domestic battery, and interfering with the reporting of domestic battery. This shouldn't be a huge surprise considering his dad, Dale Bushkovsky, was arrested for domestic violence in May 2014. This woman was probably the only woman who would even get close to Dale, and he still messed it up. He also beat up the markets apparently, making a 239% return in 2020, so you gotta act fast now if you want to learn his secrets. Something I found out about Dale is that he lies about living in Nevada for tax purposes. He claimed his home address was in the Lake Tahoe area. I called the owner of that house and we eventually deposed him. I cover the full story in this video. Dale claimed to live at someone else's house who didn't even know he was doing that, but he's now doing something similar. He hangs out with Claudia Gadella a lot. She lives in Las Vegas in a nice gated community. One of my sources told me that Dale signed a lease to live at her house so that it would be easier to avoid detection if he were ever investigated. I submitted a complaint with the Illinois Department of Revenue and provided all the evidence they need to get him on tax evasion charges. If anyone can help with that, please feel free to contact me. This guy who pays for media appearances to appear legitimate and who looks like an unemployed Reddit moderator needs to be punished for breaking the law. So what's the update on my case with him? We received an order on September 29, 2023 on my motion for summary judgment. We were granted summary judgment, meaning we won the lawsuit, but we were not granted the anti-slap motion. Although there is evidence that Cornelia researched Mulvihill's claims and sources, which is sufficient to show there was no actual malice on his part, Cornelia does not provide sufficient proof that he was unaware such statements by Mulvihill concerning Bushkovsky could be false. In what had to be the dumbest ruling I've ever seen, the judge didn't grant the anti-slap motion because somehow my research into all the claims and sources was valid, and I showed proof that I was unaware of anything possibly being false, but I didn't show enough for it to be sufficient. Literally $350,000 was on the line for the judge to just rule according to how the law is written. This was a textbook definition of a slap lawsuit, literally as clear-cut of a case as you'd find, and yet he still denied the anti-slap, which is basically a massive FU to anyone in media. Remember, I didn't even say anything in the video. I simply interviewed a credible witness and source. On December 26, 2023, Moneyberg decided to appeal this case. We had our oral arguments date scheduled for November 8, 2024, but the courts wanted 2 other cases to be finalized before our court date, so we've been stuck in limbo since then, still without a court date for oral arguments. Because he appealed the summary judgment, we were also able to appeal the anti-slap motion, which gives us a second chance at recouping attorney's fees. It's only about $350,000, so no big deal, you know? Is Derek actually wealthy? The good news for me is he actually is very wealthy. I guesstimate at least $20 million net worth, possibly closer to $30 million. It's It's good news for me because if I get a judgment, when I get a judgment, then it'll be easier to collect. How is he so wealthy? The banana business probably made him a lot of money back in the early 2000s. The former business partner said they were moving serious banana weight from California back then. In this specific banana business, their customers paid cash. He then worked with RSD, where I was told he was paid around $250,000 a year, starting in the 2010s. When he began selling courses with them, his income jumped to $1 million a year. He generates a lot of revenue through his courses. The ClickFunnels award behind him represents over $10 million in revenue from his courses. In Discovery, we had access to his numbers, and he makes a lot more than you'd realize. There was some info that was attorney's eyes only, so I didn't see it, but apparently he's had clients paying him upwards of like $75,000. I was on Brad Lee's podcast a couple years ago, and off camera, Brad told me about his time with Moneyberg while they were together. Brad said he saw Derek's portfolio on his phone, and it was around $16 million, which was a few years ago. Final note is that he visits Dragons Lair gym when in Vegas. I joined that gym in June of last year, and I have a funny experience to share with you all. So it's 3 straight days I ran into him. Sometimes he comes out here for the full weekend, and I was trying my hardest to just really embarrass the guy. I would walk up to him and kind of wave and laugh and smile. Hey, Derek, how you? Like trying to be friends with him. And he clearly did not like it. I've never seen anyone give me a face that says, I will kill you if we were in private. But I've seen it before. I've been in depositions with him before. I've been around him. But I just wanted to mock him in public because I beat him in the lawsuit and just because I wanted to make a mockery of him. Well, anyway, on the third day, the 3 straight days, on the third day, his trainer, I think his name's Milos Sivic or something, at Dragons Lair, he was training with Shannon Sharp. Shannon left, and then Moneyberg came in, and I walked past Moneyberg. He was with a girlfriend who I'm assuming he had to pay to be there with him, and I walked past him while he was with his trainer, and I waved and I smiled at him, and I said, hey, Dale, how are you, buddy? I haven't seen you in a long time, just trying to be kind of obnoxious and annoy the shit out of him. And as I was leaving the gym, so I was walking past him, and he had this grin on his face. He had never been this mad before. I promise you that this guy wanted to kill me. And his trainer was standing there so confused because Derek was mumbling words under his mouth that I won't share with you, but it was something to the effect of like, basically, I want to kill you. And and so his trainer is looking at me as I'm waving at him. I'm like, oh, don't worry. Me and Dale go way back. We're really good friends. Missed you, Dale. Haven't seen you in a while. And Dale just had this look on his face like, I'm going to strangle this guy's neck. And the girl's doing the workout. She was probably confused too. So anyway, I leave from the gym that day and I go home. And it must have been 2 hours later, I get a call from the manager. And of course, Moneyberg complained to the manager. Thanks, Flex Lewis and the manager at Dragons Lair. Derek Moneyberg Dale complained to them and probably said some things about me. So they kicked me out of the gym. I can't go back. So funny story about Derek and Dale. I cannot wait until I have a judgment to the effect of maybe $400,000 here soon. I don't know when we'll have our court date. Hopefully it'll be here soon so we can end this madness. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks for watching.